this this horrible story, the Marvin Scott story. It's buckle up, because this is a really, 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 really sad, horrible story. This cartoonist does a great job. He often he or she, I'm unsure, illustrates these police murders and social justice issues, and does a great job of really breaking down what has happened. So this is at the fake pan on Instagram. I urge you to give them a follow. So here succinctly is what happened to Marvin Scott III. On March 14th, 2021, Marvin Scott III was inside an outlet mall in Allen, Texas. While in the parking lot, Marvin was observed mumbling to himself, which drew the attention of police. According to Lee Merritt, the attorney representing Marvin's family, the police found a single joint laying next to Marvin, and he was arrested. Marvin exhibited clear signs of a mental health crisis, so the arresting officers drove him to a hospital where he was evaluated. Even though Marvin had been diagnosed with schizophrenia 2 years prior, he was deemed fit for custody and taken to Collin County Jail. While in his cell, Marvin's condition worsened. During the height of his crisis, several correctional officers entered Marvin's cell and forcibly attempted to strap him to a bed. Despite Marvin's cries for help, the officers allegedly sprayed him with mace, applied an illegal chokehold, placed a spit hood on his head, and kneeled on him until his body went limp. Shortly after, Marvin was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. On April 29th, Marvin's death was officially ruled a homicide. The 8 officers involved have been identified as Alec Diafada, Andre Cardina, Austin Wong, Blaze Mikul, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, Mikulwitz, Christopher Windsor, James Sholin, Justin Patrick, and Rafael Paradas. He was a gentle giant. He would do anything for anybody, his sister Lachey Batts said at a news conference after his death. Y'all really took away a good person, a really good person. He was amazing. So those are the basic facts. We're going to dive in deeper, but I think that the succinctness of those illustrations really drive it home. And I think that artist Pan did a great service in drawing it that way and making it digestible. Again, so I urge you to follow that person.
It's so disturbing. And this isn't the first time we've seen this, right? Daniel Prude, remember his story from New York? They did the same thing where they put a hood over him and pinned him down. This seems to be I don't know how they think this is an appropriate way to handle a mental health crisis.
Let's get back to more details of this important story.
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No. Of Marvin Scott III, who was murdered by correctional officers. So this is out of the Dallas Morning News, which will give us some additional details here. Collin County medical examiner rules Marvin Scott III's in custody death a homicide. Scott's family called for arrests of jailers after viewing video footage of his death at the Collin County Jail. So initially, they were not able to see the video footage, and so they had to really press to be able to see it. And it was the video footage was quite long, and I have to imagine traumatizing to see. I can't speak for the family, but they did a press conference, and I'll show a clip of that, and I just can't imagine. The Collin County medical examiner ruled Marvin Scott III's death a homicide Wednesday, so this was April 28th. more than a month after he died in custody at the Collin County Jail. So again, this story, this was a month, as of April 28th, this happened a month before then. And we hadn't heard of this story.
Yeah, which is crazy. Which, like you said earlier, Jen, I feel like I'm dialed into a lot of these stories because I look for them, and I had not seen this, and I'm just mortified by the entire thing.
Yeah, we're extremely tuned into this, and I wish I knew of this right away.
Yeah.
Scott's family called for arrests at a news conference after watching video footage with Collin County prosecutors of Scott's last moments. What we've seen today is horrific, inhumane, very disheartening, and we want these individuals arrested immediately, Scott's mother, Lysandra Scott, said at the news conference, which was attended by more than a dozen supporters. Collin County Medical Examiner Dr. William Rohr said Scott's cause of death was fatal acute stress response in an individual with previously diagnosed schizophrenia during restraint struggle with law enforcement. His manner of death was listed as homicide, according to a news release. A final autopsy report will be released later, and as far as I know, that autopsy report is still not released. A spokesman for the Collin County Sheriff's Office said because the Texas Rangers are conducting a criminal investigation, the office could not comment on the possibility of arrests. Sheriff Jim Skinner fired 7 jailers, and another resigned after Scott's death. One of the jailers was reinstated last week through the civil service process, a decision Skinner has said he disagreed with. Sheriff Skinner from the start has said that this is an incredible tragedy, and he continues to stand by that today, Captain Nick Bristow said. So this I'm going to play just a little bit of, because there's especially one line that I find pretty revealing here.
Good morning. My name is Jim Skinner. I'm the Collin County Sheriff. Thank you very much for being here this morning, taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here this morning. The death of Marvin David Scott III is a tragedy. On Tuesday, I met with Marvin's family and his attorney to express my condolences and to try to answer any questions that I could. The family has still many questions about how all this happened. The community also has many questions, as do I. While everyone has a lot of questions, what I'd like to do now is to share with you what we know today. On Sunday afternoon, after arresting 26-year-old Marvin Scott III for possession of less than 2 ounces of marijuana, officers from the Allen Police Department brought Marvin to the Collin County Detention Facility, where we accepted him into custody at about 6:22 p.m. on Sunday evening. While in the booking area, Mr. Scott exhibited some strange behavior. Several detention officers tried to secure him to a restraint bed, and during the process used OC spray once, and also placed the spit mask on his face. At around 10:22 p.m., while being placed on the restraint bed, Mr. Scott became non-responsive. Detention officers and nursing staff immediately provided emergency medical attention and called an ambulance. Marvin Scott was transported by ambulance to Baylor Scott and White McKinney, where physicians pronounced him deceased. Pursuant to Texas state law, my staff and I immediately contacted the Texas Rangers and asked them to investigate. I responded to the jail myself. As you might imagine, I was brokenhearted to learn that someone had died in our custody. On Monday morning, March the 15th, I placed a captain, a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and 3 detention officers on administrative leave. Also on Monday, I started a parallel internal administrative investigation into Mr. Scott's death. My office's investigation is staggered with the Texas Rangers investigation in accordance with the rights afforded the officers and the witnesses. As I promised Marvin Scott's family, I intend to conduct a thorough and transparent investigation into what happened. I've made the commitment to Marvin Scott's family that at the appropriate time, I will provide all of the facts related to this investigation to them. In the case of an in-custody death, there's a criminal justice dimension. My office does not have the sole role in the investigation of an in-custody death.
And so, of course, the most important people right now to hear from is the family.
Yeah.
So this account, I urge you to follow him, Lee Merritt. He's at Merritt Law, and probably because of Twitter length restrictions, his at is not how he actually spelled his last name. So it's at MERIT Law. So follow him for updates, and I'll be sharing some other accounts that you can follow to keep up with Marvin Scott III, the family and the organizers. But here is a video showing the family's reaction, and this is after they saw footage of the death of their son, their brother. This is devastating, so be prepared.
My name is Lysandra Scott, L.A., capital S-A-N-D-R-A, Scott, mother of Marvin David Scott III. What we've seen today was horrific, inhumane, very disheartening, and we want these individuals arrested immediately. And that's all I have to say.
When I was watching this, I felt like I wanted to be there before I couldn't. It's too late. And we ask for justice because at this point, that's all we can ask for.
Sorry about that. My name is Marvin Scott Jr. I'm Marvin D. Scott III's father. I just want to say today was a very, very difficult day. And I can say that for sure. After reviewing the video, it took a while to review it. I feel that justice has to be served. It has to be.
Yes.
I feel that the officers involved have to be arrested. That's what I feel. I feel that way. We demand that. And let's hope that it is sooner than later. That's what I would say.
I want to thank the members of the community who have stood by the family of Marvin Scott for the past 45 days. Say his name. Say his name. The community standing with the family of Marvin Scott, standing outside of this courtroom, standing outside of the jail, has strengthened this family and encouraged their resolve.
So that is obviously it was a very, very difficult thing for the family to do.
Mm-hmm.
Their family member had died, and then you have to watch this hours-long footage of your family member dying. It re-traumatizes you. And not only that, but the agony of Marvin dying and going through a schizophrenic breakdown. I can't imagine. And obviously there are calls for the arrest of his murderers is very justified, and I truly don't understand why this story hasn't taken off.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to definitely be doing more reporting on this.
There's some footage of the sister giving an interview. I think it was with Now This News. And she said, I marched for George Floyd in Dallas, and I never thought it would be us. So this next bit is another tearjerker. I believe this would be Marvin's nephew. And again, this is from Now This. And so this is him watching himself with his uncle, him watching himself with Marvin. And it's the saddest thing.
That's you and Marvin. Linda, you and Marvin. You and Marvin. You and Marvin. You and Marvin, yeah.
So when you think of how this affects the family and everyone, think of the children. Think of these young kids who have to deal with the reality of being Black in this country at that age.
Yeah.
How old is that kid? 2, maybe almost
3, maybe. Yeah. Too young to have to face that.
And he knows that his uncle is dead. And not only is his uncle dead, but that his uncle was killed. His uncle was murdered. I'm going to figure out what I can do, as a journalist, what I can do to amplify this story, because I really think it's a disgrace that
I do too.
people don't know. So, I definitely urge you. You can see what I've done is blown this up further so that you can see. Follow them on Twitter at Marvin D. Scott III. I'll follow on Instagram. And so I'm telling you to follow these accounts because they are going to keep you up to date on what's going on. And I know that you guys want to know and want to help other people know about how Marvin was murdered, because people don't know.
It does make a difference. I mean, we know that from George Floyd, right? We've learned from that this past year that people out in the streets demanding justice actually is effective. It does make a change in the way the story goes. So,
yes, it does. It does. And awareness is good. And now, if you guys like us were not aware of what happened to Marvin, you guys can now tell others and spread the word and share their social media posts, share Lee Merritt's social media posts. Let everybody know. People need to know what happened. It's horrible, horrifying.
It is horrifying. It's horrifying. Okay. Horrifying. And it's horrifying that he's not the only one.
Yes. It keeps happening. And we all need to, we can't give up. We need to just do everything we can.
No, now is not the time to give up. Now is the time to push forward harder, more so than ever, because we've had the shared experience of knowing that it makes a difference. And we're not wasting our times by focusing on these things and drawing attention to them, protesting. I mean, whether you're the protester in the street or you're the journalist there covering the protest, all of these things work together to create justice, right? And now is not the time to give up. People, don't get tired, and don't get complacent either. What happened with Derek Chauvin is just a start. It's not going to reform the entire system. We're not done yet by a long shot.
Yeah.